Today's episode is brought to you by America's Best Unlimited Network. Don't miss a show with unlimited data from T-Mobile.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Watching Thrones. Guys, we are the Game of Thrones after show for Screen Junkies, and we're not always necessary until there's an episode like last night. This is what we are here for. This is what we are made for.
This is what we train for, people.
This is what we train for, people. All hands on deck. We are about to sink our teeth into the meatiest episode yet this season. You can join the conversation along. Tweet at us with the hashtag Watching Thrones. We'll be checking your tweets, and you can Skype in. We're going to be taking your Skype calls closer to the end of the episode. There might even be a trivia by combat if we have time at our new Skype line, which is SJ Thrones Live. So Skype in close to the end of the show. First, we are going to talk with our amazing panel of guests. As always, Roth Cornet.
Hello.
Michele Boyd, our maester.
Hi, everyone.
And you know him, you love him, the Belko Experiment, a little movie called, the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. It's Sean Gunn! And Sean Gunn! And Sean Gunn! I got so close!
Oh. One shot. I'm Sean Gunn, everybody. That's all right.
Start the whole thing over.
The greater Gunn is
Adam
here.
Carolla called me Dean Gunn, so you got a little closer. At least that's
Dean Gunn?
Yeah, well, whatever. It's,
What's your action hero name?
Did he read the S as a D?
He was just reading his own, I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
Hi, Sean. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
It's so nice to have you.
It's
Thank you
nice
for
to be
joining
here.
us.
I'm ready to display how little I know about Westeros.
No, we love this because you are a show-only watcher.
Correct.
You've not read the books, which for us is
Correct.
fantastic because I personally love that perspective. I forget we can't all be
I'm
smug
moping over here
assholes.
because I had one job and I blew it. But I want to make it up to you. You got to check out the Guardians Disco Inferno video, right? How do
Yes,
people
it
find
dropped
that?
yesterday. It's really cool. Yeah, David Hasselhoff and the Sneepers, Guardians Inferno. It's an extravaganza.
That's awesome. Also awesome, our top story today, Dragon Wars. Yes! So, we could do some hard-hitting analysis and ask some questions, but I just want to talk about this for a second.
so cool.
Did you see when the dragon was like...
And she was like, and then Judy was like, Leroy Jenkins! It's just the whole thing. I mean,
my God. Look at that.
just dragon fire.
It's just a dragon doing the dragon stuff.
Zero reload time, burninating all the peasants
Wow.
and all those
Condor, nice.
thatched
Pretty
roof
good.
cottages. It is just, nothing makes me happier.
It was a military, okay, to be fair to her plan, and I assume that she had a larger conversation with Jon about how to proceed because he was like, look, you can't be going and burning an entire city because then you're just basically like the person that you're fighting who just burned up a city. Not the entire city, but a large portion of it. So I feel like they must have talked, and she went after a military target.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's the question. Did she take his advice or not? I think she did, right?
Yeah.
She's
Absolutely.
like, I'm not going to go after them in the city. I'm going to just go after the army directly.
Well, she burned up a whole lot of grain, I assume. Or was that grain or gold?
So
It was
I
great.
had to go back and look at this again because at first I thought, wow, she's just disseminating a whole bunch of possible money there. But no, when you first start the scene, Randall Tarley does say that all the gold is safely within King's Landing. So now this is just some grain. They haven't gotten all the harvest, so hopefully there's
good.
still
So
some
everyone
food
can just slowly
for the
starve to
Dothraki.
death. How humane of her.
Okay,
Everyone's gonna starve.
Hang on. A, this is war, friend.
Sure.
And two, I heard that and I was actually really disappointed because I did not want Cersei to get the money at all.
Me either.
She has the cash, which puts her still in a good position in this war. But yeah, all her goal was to stop the army from it's always been about a siege. And how are you going to have a siege if they have all the food? So she took away their food.
Roth, you're losing sight of the real point of this battle, which was the dragon was like...
Oh my god!
What was I want to go down the line here, Sean. What was your favorite part of the battle?
Oh gosh. Well, anything with the dragons. I mean, obviously, it's hard to look at anything else other than the dragon burning things up.
It's a good point.
Yeah, my sister always says that Game of Thrones is really just a show about dragons, and the rest is filler.
And boobs. Don't forget boobs.
Oh, that's right.
Less
yeah,
and less
good
every
call.
day. Pour one out for the boobs.
But yeah, I mean, the ending is pretty awesome.
which we will get to later. Michelle, what was your favorite part?
Probably my favorite part is where after Drogon is injured and comes down and he's set fire to the scorpion and then just goes after it with his tail, like scorpion in particular. Just done. He's just angry at it.
Yeah.
Roth.
I actually called out that moment too because it was such like animals do behave that way, like sick of you thing. I feel like for me it was twofold. One, they managed to give us an amazing battle with a dragon, which is thrilling enough as it is, but at the same time you're super invested because now you know who to root for, right? You're rooting for Dragon. I'm rooting for Dragon always, but at the same time it's Dragon versus Bronn and Jaime, and then Tyrion's at the side and may have to watch his beloved brother die. So there were huge emotional stakes in this, even in the midst of this awesome battle. You couldn't just feel good about them winning.
Well, it's funny you say that, like, you know who you want to win, because I didn't at all. I was looking at both sides.
You want Cersei to be queen?
No, I want Dany to take over, but I don't want Jaime to die. And I don't want Rickon / Dickon to die. And I don't want, I don't want any of these characters to die.
When you're watching that moment of Bronn versus the dragon, I was like, oh wait, who do I want to live through this?
I thought Bronn had it. I thought we were going to see Bronn get torched.
I was shocked he survived.
Yeah, because they were so setting up like the end of his character arc, which is like, oh, he's going to go for the gold because he's the mercenary and he's going to die for it.
Right.
But he didn't.
He didn't, and survives to save Jaime. Jaime.
It was one of those it was such an emotional roller coaster because you're like, a world in which Bronn and Tyrion are enemies is not a world that makes sense. It's a world gone mad.
It was the most shocking non-death of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and I thought, so that was super thrilling, but I will say at the beginning of the scene, I was very worried because they had set it up with the previously on. I was very worried about the dragon.
Me too.
I was extremely anxious.
Can we rename Bronn like Bronn the Bard? Because this is very
Bardy.
The Hobbit, the arrow, the ultra crossbow, and Smaug with the dragon here. So, and he can sing. And he can sing.
He actually can. Do you know about his previous career as a pop star?
I do. What?
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was a pop star. He was a part of a duo.
pop star.
It was Robinson and Jerome and Robinson, something like that.
Oh, yeah,
It was
Jerome.
a UK pop star.
Oh, we gotta find
in the
footage of that.
80s. And then
It's out there.
he kind of got so famous that he bought an island and retreated to it and didn't want to deal with the world, and then has
That's
come
awesome.
out.
We got to get him and DJ Hodor together.
Yeah,
Super
Definitely.
group.
I did in this whole Field of Fire 2.0, I really did like the small moment with Dickon kind of feeling bad about Dick and Rickon, about feeling bad about taking on the Tyrells. Because he's right. It was a nice humanizing moment for him to say, listen, I grew up with these guys. We've been pledged together for my entire life. And now all of a sudden we're enemies. Like, this kind of sucked.
Yeah, and someone brought up briefly of what must be running through Tyrion's head as he's watching this. Because, he's watching his home, his house, on fire. Like, literally his countrymen, his people are burning to death. And he's like...
And possibly his brother.
And, they're all assholes, but it's like, they're my assholes.
But the thing is, Jaime's not an asshole. I mean, he is, but he...
We cannot
Tyrion
forget
looked
he pushed a child out a window.
Tyrion looked pretty emo before Jaime was even under threat. He was
that's
watching
true.
this ooh, was it a good call to bring the Dothraki? They're kind of dicks too. What have I done?
Which, by the
I
way,
also
can
love-
we talk about the Dothraki?
I want to say that was my favorite part.
Oh my god, yes! We didn't get a chance to talk about your favorite moment.
Were, and I think this was a real, not even an effect, they just found guys who knew how to jump on top of a horse and shoot a bow.
Yes. If you watch inside the episode where they're talking about the stuntmen and, the specialized harnesses and, Tyrion belt and the stirrups and everything, I mean, it's incredible.
Oh,
And
man.
they've
Just
been
the practical
teasing it
effects.
For 6
Yeah.
seasons.
I'll
They're
take
like,
practical
you don't
effects
wanna
over
go
digital
up-
any day.
Yeah, definitely. And this had to pay off because for 6 seasons, they're like, you don't want to go up against the Dothraki. And
In
then
an open
they
field.
In an open
yeah.
field. Yeah.
And then you're like, no, you really...
You had the horses running through the dragons. It was like a metal album cover.
Yeah.
That may have
time.
been the best moment, actually, when the guy jumps up on the horse.
jumps up on the
That's
horse
like
and
some
shoots
that's
a
some
bow.
Genghis Khan shit right there.
That's some Legolas level stuff right
Yeah.
there. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
And also the line just your people can't fight.
So great. Oh man. And it's just, and I love that Bronn even just tried to save Jaime, just saying just seeing what's coming over the ridge, even pre-dragon was dude, get your ass back to King's Landing. This
So I
is not
guess
going to end well.
Let's jump forward to the end of the battle, I guess. cliffhanger? I mean, there's no way Jaime Lannister.
There's no way Jaime goes out like
right?
that. Although full plate armor.
I love that, in the beginning of the episode, Bronn and him were talking. He's like, don't let all your things weigh you down. Like, your riches weigh you down. Like, wink, I see what you did there.
Someone's got to save him, right? I mean, somebody's got to come in and save him.
Yeah, but who?
For him to live.
How can you pull... Well, first of all, what's up with that pond? Because, like, he's running through it at one point, and then it's, like, 50 feet deep.
Yeah,
the next.
exactly.
That is a large drop-off there.
And there, I think when we saw that in the previews, I thought that was from the sea battle because that looks so much like the ocean. And that's Bronn.
That's Bronn who saved him, right?
Yeah,
It's not,
I think so.
I didn't do the frame-by-frame JFK thing, but probably.
I did the quick Reddit search, I think, and there's a pretty good case to be made that it's Bronn.
Looked pretty brawny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Bronn. Yeah, I think it was Bronn. But who's going to save him? What if Tyrion does? That's
No way.
You're gonna tie a weather balloon to him? Or,
Tyrion
how's he
weighs
gonna pull
like
him out?
a third of his weight without any plate armor against it.
Tyrion knows how to get it done,
That's a good thing to think about, is that regardless of how he does it, because we don't know how it would be done, but assuming that it can somehow be done in a way that we don't know, would Tyrion maybe do it?
I think he would say they love
Would
each
he
other.
run into the field of battle and yank him out, or would he ask Dany, like, "That's my brother,
Can
please
we
help me"?
Yeah, I mean, this is his one family member that he's ever loved. One.
Yeah.
Well, plus Jaime saved his life, kind
know.
of let him out so that he could kill his
he
father.
owes him one.
But yeah, he owes him. Exactly.
Jaime's taken a lot of L's over the season, or
Yeah.
seasons. Like, he keeps getting captured. I can't see him just being a captive again. I feel like he's got to get away from this one.
That's something I hadn't considered, that maybe Dany takes him back as a captive.
Yeah, but that would just be
Would
like
that be
doing.
weird?
He's been a captive with Brienne. He's been a captive with Catelyn Stark. Like, Jaime, the eternal prisoner. I don't just
Not the
like
same
putting,
ring as
putting on my
Kingslayer,
plot
does
hat.
it?
Like, I think that he's probably going to make it back alive.
And putting on your plot hat, he's got plot armor. Like,
Yeah, but it would be pretty awesome if they just killed him off. Like, you think that he's going to fulfill this
yeah,
destiny? It's Game of Thrones. He's
I'd
dead.
be angry.
It would make sense, though, right? It would make sense for Daenerys to save him and keep him as a captive. From a strategic standpoint.
Yeah, from a strategic
Would it
standpoint,
not?
he's a
Yeah.
pretty valuable captive. I can't imagine. I mean, Cersei obviously doesn't love Jaime as much as he loves her, but I think she would do quite a lot to get him back.
ooh, in the books.
Hey,
Yes.
Jaime is done with her, right? And what's the one thing that could actually make him in the world of the show, which he is 100% still on team, like banging my sister and making her dreams come
Team
through.
sister banger,
Team
yeah.
sister banger. The only thing that could make him break up with that group, I think, is if he was captive, that they tried to make a deal and Cersei was like, nope, rather have power.
Oh, interesting.
That could be the only thing that sent him down that path, perhaps.
that would
Okay.
be cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, or if he switches sides to Dany, then he could be the king or queen slayer again if she goes mad, killing
Exactly.
another mad Targaryen.
That can't happen.
Oh,
That can't
gosh.
happen, though. It can't, like, he's not going to switch sides and go against Cersei.
Yeah.
That's his fatal flaw, right? I mean, he's had other redemptive opportunities many times.
Yeah.
And even though he's become a nicer guy, it's like, isn't just from a character standpoint, he can never
Keeps going back.
He can never go against his nature of loving Cersei, and if he does, it'll kill him. I mean, that's right.
And that's
And
the
that's the
issue.
tragedy.
That
That's how the show
might
works.
be how his story actually ends.
That would be a great
Which is why I'd be
tragic
so
ending.
pissed if he just drowns right now.
But yeah, that's the
There's
thing.
no
It
way.
sounds like
No
none of
way.
us really buy that he's going to be killed off. Just a meta question: has Game of Thrones kind of lost the like surprise factor that anyone can die at any moment? Because it seems like this is the crew
I think we're
riding
being
with till
lulled
the
into
end.
a false sense of security right now because
Okay.
we're what 9 episodes left now.
Yes. in
That's
I
the
total.
whole
mean,
thing?
now we
Yeah.
gotta start killing off main characters.
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
just gonna start happening.
Yeah.
Brandon chimes in with, I love Jaime, but I think and hope he's dead. A huge battle where no important characters bite it is so not Game of Thrones. So let's talk about the stakes of this battle. What did she actually win?
Yeah. Well, Daenerys.
Yeah.
She obviously struck a big blow against the Lannisters, and I think it's more of like a psychological shock and awe campaign because, like, props to the Lannisters for standing still as long as they did while there was a dragon flying at them.
Trembling,
That is some
but
serious
still.
discipline to be like, all right, get close, I'm gonna poke you. But yeah, I think now like word will get out. Like, dragons are here, they're real, and they will burn you alive. And you know, you got the Dothraki too. So
I did love the moment where Jaime and Bronn look up and see the dragon. Everyone's face when they
Yeah.
first see the dragon is just my favorite thing.
Yeah. So for whatever strategic importance it is, I think the big thing is like it's a statement. It's a statement. I'm here. I'm flying.
I got a dragon.
Dracarys, mother effers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how is she going to respond, though, to the reality that there's a threat against her dragon?
Well, she's already. Danny. I thought we were talking
Danny,
about Cersei.
She thought they were invincible before.
Yeah, I mean, well, but that's the thing. Did Cersei tip her hand? First of all, how many scorpions do they actually
Unclear.
have? So, I hope that was not their only one. Otherwise, okay. But they kind of played their hand on this. Now Danny actually knows that this is a possible threat to her dragons. And, even then, Drogon wasn't killed. He was just injured. He could still kind of fly. I don't know about the healing properties of dragons, but I mean, I assume he's not out for the count.
She's got a little bit
and she
of
has the other two.
Danny's got a to-do list. She's got to build dragon armor. She's got to build armor for herself, and she's got to build a saddle. Because it looks like she's just holding on for dear life on those things.
Yeah.
I did question those physics, did you? About, how is she holding on to that dragon?
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Yeah. But she's got some kind of dragon sorcery that she's calling out.
Magic,
strong inner thighs.
Magic
That's
thighs.
another good question, though.
Magic thighs.
Is the dragon going to live?
Yeah,
he
it looks like
should.
she pulled that
That
thing
could
out
happen.
like a toothpick. But yeah, it's technically in doubt. He was wounded. He's on the ground. He's vulnerable.
He got stabbed more than that in the pit of Marine, in the fighting pits, and was fine about 2 weeks later. So I think he'll be okay.
Why isn't everyone, after they've learned from Dorne, not coating their weapons with poison?
Well, you got to be like a Cinemax porno actress, I guess, to really know the secrets of poison. Only the sand snakes know those erotic secrets. Of,
And those died on your own ship.
Ugh, they suck. Before we move on, anyone chiming in on Twitter? # Watching Thrones.
Yes. Texas Film Fatal?
Fatal.
Fatal.
Very well, thank you. I like your handle. Says Tyrion will save Jaime from Dany, I think. Ask for his life as it's good leverage against Cersei, like we were saying. And then Timbut2, which I still continue to think that's the greatest Twitter handle ever, says he's not dead. Trust me, he'll die in the arms of his lover after killing her, his sister Cersei. Sister lover.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Fair enough. Speaking of Cersei, back
we have one specifically
hit me.
for you.
Yeah.
Agent
God damn it,
70
Spencer, how'd you get his
says,
name
what
wrong?
does Spencer think about Mira's talk with Bran? Which
We'll
we'll
get
get
there.
to.
We'll get there.
Fully.
Never, ever ask
Emotionally
Spencer
ready.
about Bran. Never ask him about
Bran
Bran.
Muffin, you are so useless. Yeah, I don't want to get too far away from the.
Bran?
We'll
What's
get
right
there.
with Bran?
We will get there.
What's your favorite part about Bran? I'll get it. We'll save it. King's Landing. Cersei. Iron Bank. So you were saying, I assume that this was the gold train. So she's not broke. She really did make the payment.
As far as I can tell, yeah, the gold made it inside. So she's good to pay off the Iron
The big
Bank
down
and
payment.
Mycroft Holmes there.
Yeah.
So, but I think the idea was that she's then going to take out new loans to hire the Golden Company over in Essos to kind of bolster up her armies and also to recover things that belong to her.
They said the gold got through. They said the gold
got
right
through.
before
Yeah.
the attack. They said
But how stupid is that bank? I mean, they're glad they got their gold back, but now, there's got to be some kind of a raven that lets them know that, but when they did that, also that whole army got burned up by a big
But
they got their
dragon.
Well,
It's like a
there's
credit card company. It's a collection agency. They're like, we got our payments. We're cool.
But are they still going to want to bet on him?
I feel like that's the last gold in Westeros.
I think
like,
they
who
play
else has any
every
money?
side. Like the episode was called "The Spoils of War," and it's like, Bronn didn't get his little gold sack. Dany, she may have won, but she burnt everyone to death. And Cersei, it's a win and a loss. So it's like no one's really profiting from this except the evil bank.
the bank, which is much like our world. Aaron says that the Iron Bank will take its gold and dip on out after they hear about the Field of Fire. Like they're gonna be like, cool, thanks, bye.
I always got the sense that they funded all sides.
I think they fund all sides. Like, there's
They
a
hedge
lot
their
of
bets.
corporations do that, right?
Yeah.
They'll fund
Like
several different
Saudis.
political campaigns.
Exactly.
Because the idea is they just want to own whoever's next.
Yeah.
And they're probably gonna give a little bit here and a little bit there.
Yeah, if you don't pay your debt to the Iron Bank, their way of retaliating is to then fund your enemies. So maybe at that point they'll start switching to Dany. But from their perspective, Cersei and the Lannisters and the Crown have all paid their debts back.
And
So
they
they're
like her
probably
because
good.
she is so broke that they
They
that
like her
she's-
interest payments.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
Yeah, thrilling stuff on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. I love it.
I know. I
because-
personed would watch an Iron Bank spin-off
Me
of just
too.
them approving and denying business applications.
Well, it's about the strategy,
It's
right?
an office comedy.
That'd be great. Oh, man.
This is the best workplace ever.
But you mentioned something about Cersei talking about what was owed to her, something like that. And I assume she was just talking about the continent of Westeros, but is there something else?
I don't know. I was really trying to figure out what that could possibly mean when she says that she's sending the Golden Company to recover things that belong to her. I mean, unless she's talking about the old Lannister Valyrian sword from way back in the day, I honestly have no idea what's in Essos that she could possibly be after. Gendry? I don't know. Like they're gonna go after someone in a rowboat. I'm not.
Why would
just
she
not
want
sure.
Gendry though?
She doesn't know.
And I
about
assume
him.
he's still rowing about.
Well,
Yeah.
have you seen Gendry?
He was the he's like Robert Baratheon's bastard kid he was around with Arya for a little while. Last we saw him, he was just rowing away.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's not coming back.
That's interesting though. What could they have that she would want?
I don't know.
Because here's another question I have is that the dragon eggs originally came from the Shadowlands, right?
If you say so.
Of a shy.
Melisandre's off gallivanting about, right? Could this be like, are there more potential dragons and eggs to be birthed?
Not in the next 13 episodes.
Yeah, it's possible, but I mean, first of all, I don't think Cersei would ever consider those hers.
No,
so they
wouldn't.
couldn't be after that. And also, like Melisandre's on her way to Volantis, which is not in Ashai. It's another
Yeah.
one of the free cities.
I know,
but it's sort of on the way.
That's what I was thinking. Like, she's on her way to Volantis, ostensibly speaking, to gather together the followers of the Lord of Light. Why? Like, is there a possibility that there's some moment that happens where they love, and I have to credit Joanna Robinson, who's amazing, you guys should read her, that
Vanity
the show
Fair, she's awesome.
loves Deus Machinas. They love it. They love the last minute save. So, like, what if they come riding in on a whole bunch of dragons from the Shadowlands? Like, what if she awoke not only those 3 dragons, but more?
I mean, look, it's possible. Lord of the Rings did it with the Eagles, but I don't.
Damn Eagles.
I hope they don't fall.
Also,
into
it's
that
like
shit.
I've watched every episode of Game of Thrones, but if all of a sudden a whole bunch of dragons came flying in, I'd be like, where did those? Like, I would never put
I guess they
together
weren't that
all
special after all.
that stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's a deep cut.
Yeah, and George R. R. Martin's usually such a good, subtle writer. It's shades of gray, and I love that he's just like, well, there's this continent called Ashai. It's like Asia. They got dragons there. not his strongest work. I hope that's not the ending of the series.
Yeah, I mean, now that we're only 9 episodes from the end completely, and what, 3 episodes?
Three
Three
episodes
episodes
left
until
this
the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how late in the game can they introduce something and still have it be okay as like a last savior?
Yeah.
They really got to start kind of pulling everything together at this point, right?
Yeah, you'd think so.
It's got to be people we know, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing Cersei brought up was the Golden Company. Ooh, gold. I love gold. This is the second time the show has dropped a reference to them. Once was from Davos in season 4. Stannis refused to hire these mercenaries. And, I don't know how deep we want to go into it, but maybe we can, Michelle, our resident expert, can give us like a quick little from the books
Mini
info
Maester's
dump.
Corner. I don't even know if it counts as a Maester's
Yeah,
Corner, but
who are the
it's
Golden
a
Company?
mini Maester's Corner.
Because when I heard it, I was like, oh, I know them. But,
So the Golden Company is a group of exiled sellswords over in Essos. Their whole thing is that their word is as good as gold. They've never broken a contract. That's sort of their big deal. They were founded by one of the Blackfires, one of the bastard Targaryens. Actually, Brynden Rivers, the Three-Eyed Raven, his half-brother, founded them when he was kicked out of Westeros and went over to Essos. So Jorah in the show, not in the books, but in the show, was actually part
We're gonna
of.
close up on
This
Sean's
never
face
happens.
as
I know,
this
like in the show. Can we, Jorah?
It's like,
Go on. I caught almost 3% of that. Go
Totally
on.
cool, yeah. Sellswords. Jorah was part of them in the show. And
Sir
you remember
Friendzone.
Max von Sydow, dude in a tree?
Yeah.
Bran took over for him?
Of course, yeah.
His brother was the founder of the whole Golden
Okay.
Company.
they're mercenaries.
Cool.
They're in Essos, right?
Yes, they're in Essos. And then let's see, that's pretty much it, essentially.
Thank you.
Oh, and they're 10,000 men. Cool, there you go.
Awesome.
There's a whole bunch of other stuff in the books about them, but it's stuff that's probably just not going to happen in the show at
Or
all.
they will blend it into Jorah's storyline.
Exactly.
But we'll see.
Yeah,
But, like,
we'll see.
Doesn't Jorah suddenly, now that we know that Cersei's going after them, doesn't Jorah's storyline suddenly become more important? Like, we need him now because
Yeah, he would know
knows
about
them.
him. Yeah, interesting.
Right?
He would, but yeah, I think he doesn't. It's funny because when Danny wanted to take on Dario Najaris, one of the reasons Jorah didn't like him is like he's a sellsword, and Danny's
just
like,
want
so
to.
are you.
Yeah.
Chill.
Yeah. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds about this because this is a 3%er thing, but I love
I do like the deep
what are people
dives.
saying on Twitter?
The people are saying watching Arya take on Brienne was the second to only the field of fire last night. The mutual respect between them was incredible. So we can move to the siblings. But I will
move to
say
Winterfell.
one last thing about Jorah and the mercenaries is that they made a big deal out of making it clear to Jon and with Dany that people were following them respectively because they were following them out of their own choice. So that calls
As opposed
into
to their birthright?
As opposed to a birthright or an army that you paid for. So
Yeah.
I will say there was a big deal made out of that like several times.
That's a good point. Yeah, Davos and Missandei made that point this week. And before we get to Winterfell, we're going to take a pit stop on Dragonstone.
Very well.
Because some stuff went down
can do
there.
that.
You know, Danny was very curious about Grey's Worm, as
The
we
painted
were.
cave of love and
And Jon took Danny into the cave. That's his move, right?
Incest threat alert. That is his move. And
Oh, yeah.
Ygritte would be so pissed.
it's
Incest
off the
threats
charts.
off the charts.
Yeah.
They're
Completely.
banging.
Now, as good
there
as
was some heat in that
there
cave.
was some heat. Yeah, he did not need to like subtly guide her hand up with it. Like
Oh,
he was
yeah.
finding excuses to touch her. There were longing looks.
She
but
just moves in closer.
as
I mean,
cool as the battle was, I think this is the first time this season that, or since the early seasons, that the production design team has dropped the ball with these cave drawings.
well, I mean, they're supposed to be primitive. I get it, but and here's the funny part about these. I was like, okay, we're seeing spirals, we're seeing like stick figures. Look at how
That is
detailed
the
the
margins
White
of my
Walkers
geometry
are.
notebook.
It's like they have blue eyes. How did that happen?
We were watching the show last night. My girlfriend said, "How does she know he didn't just go in there and draw those?"
It really looked
yeah.
a little bit last minute.
Just citing the bottom.
I don't know. I don't want to break the illusion too much, but I was looking at that and I'm like, what?
Okay, I was in both Ireland and New Zealand and went into caves that had like ancient and they were very similar. They were like these spiral patterns that were carved into the page. It was like a very similar look, and I think that they're drawing from that.
Wait, there were spiral patterns actually carved into the walls of the caves you were in?
Yeah.
Did you go
Oh,
on
by
set?
like the druids?
No. I mean, I'm not talking about for Game of Thrones. This is like
Just in real life.
in real life. Yeah, I was in one that was a cave that was 5,000 years old in Ireland, and then when I was just in New Zealand, and now I sound like the biggest asshole in the world.
Where in the world's Roth Cornet?
All right.
But there were also, they had discovered spiral patterns in New Zealand as well, and so like it's pretty common for like ancient caves.
So you're
Well,
saying
but
our civilization was founded by children of the
See,
forest.
I
I am
We're all-
saying
we're all-
exactly. This is I'm saying
We're all
this is-
descended.
We've been watching a documentary. We just haven't done it.
The spirals are fine, but then there was the drawings of the Night King that looked like it should say like John, age 16 next to it. It just didn't. I
They
don't
are
know.
children.
They are children of the forest. Good point. It's like it looked like kids' drawings.
They did. I was sort of surprised it makes sense, but I almost expected to see a dragon just
Yeah.
on there as well. I know that doesn't make sense because, the Targaryens weren't part of this fight and it was before they were a thing, but I kind of almost expected to see them just to be like, hey, all of us work together. This is so Ferngully. Look, the fairies and the humans working together.
So it worked. Showing her the doodles seemed to convince her that she needed to get involved in the war up north. But she still really hung up on him bending the knee, and I'm not quite sure why. If she really does believe that this is like an existential threat.
Because the only final solution is they got to get married. Like, if they can't come to an agreement, she realizes that all of her other allies
The basis
are
of
gone.
all good marriage.
Right? Like, if they can't come to an agreement, she realizes, well, she said she wanted to have a political marriage when she went there. That's why she dropped Hottie McPhee. So, Dario. So,
Lesser Dario.
greater Dario. We can debate that later.
we'll talk about
First
that.
Dario was way hotter.
No.
Right.
Sean,
Thank you,
weigh in.
Spencer.
Which Dario
Oh, yeah.
is hotter?
Second Dario.
Thank you.
No, I can't
gets
even
it.
be between you guys.
You
On
get
the
it.
long flowing hair. No.
Yeah.
No.
It looked like Fabio, but hotter.
Exactly. No.
He had the swagger that second Dario did not have.
Second Dario has masculinity. He is all man. Weigh in.
Hashtag watching Thrones.
Watching Thrones.
Which
So the
Dario
point
do you like
is,
better?
Like, if they really get to the point that he understands that he desperately needs her in order for his people to survive, but they won't accept her, and she understands that he will not bend the knee, but she also needs allies in order to unite this country, the answer is going to be marriage.
Wow, you're jumping ahead quite a few steps straight to marriage. Not even to like a.
That's
There's
totally
no dating.
reasonable, though.
We're just
I mean,
still
that's
stuck on them boning in a cave, and you just moved on.
that's reasonable, though. I think that's right. I mean, that seems like, if you're there and you're advising one or the either of them, that seems like the best way to go.
It does,
Why don't you guys
yeah.
get married? I'm surprised someone didn't say it already.
Yeah, I mean, Davos kind of implied it like that's what is it like? That's not.
Staring at
She's
your
got a good
good
heart.
heart.
You're looking at there, or something like that. We don't buy that John's not interested, right? He's doing the whole like, oh, I'm just worried about the war thing, but he's
Oh,
No,
he's
no.
into it.
right.
You don't look at a powerful woman like that with their perfectly curled hair and dragons and like not be interested,
But
right?
is John's character
And he's
like so mopey and removed because he's died and come back and he's like you said, he's stared into the eyes of the Night King? Do we really think he's just not even on that level right now?
Yeah, that's how he
Yeah.
was with Ygritte too, and we saw how that turned out. So, wait,
You
before
didn't, you didn't think he was in the cave? I felt like he was like,
absolutely like
allow me to
But that was
guide
just like
your
reflex.
arm
Like
and-
when he gets in a cave, he gets horny.
Exactly. She just has to spend a lot of time in the cave.
They just have to
Luckily,
hang out down
they're going to be spending a lot of time in that cave.
I mean, that's just Pavlov's cave at this
Yeah.
point. That's just his natural reaction to a cave. I get it.
I
Yeah.
get it. I completely get it.
I will say before, I mean, we move on from Dragonstone, I really enjoyed the callbacks in this scene and throughout the episode, but there were two main ones here. Like, Davos had a really nice one where John is talking about how many men he has, like 10,000 less, and Davos is like, fewer, which is one of my favorite Stannis lines. Just kind of correcting the grammar, and then also
it's annoying.
the line. I
It's a
like
nice
the fewer,
callback, but
though.
people
It's
that
such a
do
great
that are
callback. Totally, except for fewer. And then there is also in the cave where she says, isn't there pride? Is your pride? Wait, what's the actual line? Isn't their survival worth more than your pride? Which is exactly what Jon said to Mance Rayder. And it's just a perfect echo of that situation because Mance at the time was talking about not being able to bend the knee to a Southern king. And he's saying he can't bend the knee to a Southern queen.
Whoa.
His people won't follow him at all.
Everyone's Southern to someone.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Right? Yeah.
Cool.
Check that out.
One other tidbit, I don't want to spend too much time on it because, I'm sick of this guy at this point. Theon shows up, wet, sad, on a rowboat. There's a little reunion between him and Jon, probably the least impactful Stark reunion we've seen so far. He's like, you're a dick.
I'd forgotten that Jon has a really good reason to hate him.
Yeah.
The whole, hey, you kind of took and burned my home, you
Right.
jerk.
Jerk.
And claimed to kill my two brothers and would have if you could have found them.
Yeah, so he's going to ask Dany for some ships, which she doesn't have much of.
Apparently she has enough
I
to
guess she's got enough for the
transport
Dothraki.
the Dothraki, sure. Why
I
not?
don't know. I'd ask questions about this,
Eh.
but I don't really care. Do you think anything? Why is are you interested in what happens to Theon at this
I
point?
like Theon's. I mean, he's got to do something. New needs to happen with Theon.
Right.
Agreed.
It's time for Theon to do something.
Yes.
I don't know what.
He almost did something a few
know.
weeks ago.
A friend of mine made the argument he has to be the one to kill Euron because we started talking about how is
Yeah.
Euron
Yeah.
gonna die, and we're like, it has to be Theon.
I would hope so.
Please.
And we haven't seen what he's been doing. It was promised
Euron?
that
Yeah.
and it was promised that he was going to make, Bolton bastard look like a small kitten. and so you have to imagine, and
he
is.
has Yara, so maybe
you gonna-
that's. Wait, what?
Are you going to end the books?
No, I wasn't.
No.
I was talking
it
about
wasn't
that. I was
in the
talking about future episodes because he. We saw Euron take Yara out of the throne room, so we know that he has her. You were going to talk about in the books with Victarion and basically all the sexual sadomasochism
Yes.
that he does to his own brothers.
Yes, so you have to
and taking
imagine-
over the wife of one of them, raping her, tying her to the front of his ship while she's pregnant. Burning? No, the Victarion has the smoking arm from Grayscale. There's a whole thing in the books, guys,
Sounds
about
like
how
a
awful
jerk.
Euron is.
He's a
It's kind of amazing.
monster.
He
He's
is
a monster.
That's
capital
Euron?
E evil.
Yeah.
And,
So you have to imagine,
Yeah, he's like Ramsay times 10.
yeah, what is he doing to Yara right now?
Yeah,
Is,
I
think
imagine
what-
that's the next episode. We'll see. Although, actually, well, yeah, so we'll see. But they're not going to leave that alone. Not after building up Euron as the next badass of Westeros, which to me, he hasn't come across that way yet.
He's got little shades of it, but yeah, if you check the books and the Winds of Winter preview chapter that came out with Euron, it's like, this guy is messed up in the head. So
Exactly.
hopefully we'll get a little bit of that. We're missing like a really crazy antagonist.
We need a new one.
We need a new one.
Do you feel like we need one? Like a full-on evil antagonist
Or is it
now?
just good
In
guy
the
versus
in
good
the
guy?
show?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Because I think you've got, how many episodes left?
9.
3 this season.
So you've
Total.
still got Euron, Cersei, and the Night King.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's enough, I think, for that many episodes. I don't think you need a new one.
That's fair.
Totally. Let's check in on the old tweet storm. Hashtag Watching Thrones. What are people saying, Roth?
We have lost internet, but we're reconnecting it currently. But Samantha thinks that the dragons will show up, and that John is going to need to be a dragon rider, and that's another thing that'll happen in the next couple episodes.
That'd be cool.
I did think that was interesting that she only brought Drogon
Well,
into
nobody
the
else can
battle.
ride them.
But that was the thing, because there
they
was
need
a
to be
question
ridden,
for
though?
me. Exactly, there was a
Yeah.
question for me about, do they actually need riders, or are they independently intelligent enough to kind of follow Drogon's lead? I mean, they didn't have to be ridden when they torched all the ships in Slaver's Bay. So,
Yeah.
I mean, did she just not want to tip her hand too quickly? Did she just didn't think they were needed?
It was probably too delicate of an operation that she couldn't just let them loose in Westeros. She needed to really steer them towards the Oregon Trail thing they were making.
Yeah, that's the thing, is if she just lets them go, then she's the one that's guiding him and saying, Dracarys, burn that.
Eat that, don't
burn
eat that. Yeah.
Don't burn everything, right? So if they're just left willy-nilly by themselves,
Then they
won't
eat kids.
know.
Yeah,
Right.
we've gotten
Yeah.
that before.
When really it's also probably like the showrunners going, listen, guys, we're torching 20 people. We only have the budget for so much.
Yeah, let's just
okay?
do one dragon this
Yeah,
time.
one dragon. That's it.
Save it for the finale.
If you don't want him to look like Falcor, then we've got to actually spend some money on one
That's a
dragon.
good question. Did she just have some kind of dragon whistle where she could be directing
Yeah.
traffic from up top?
Sick 'em.
Yeah.
Get him, boy.
Exactly.
All right, let's head north to Winterfell. Yes, the frozen north, the frozen and frigid north, where we have the frozen and frigid Bran, the little meat popsicle there, just looking all dead-eyed and being a dick to everybody.
So now we know what you think about his con.
Oh,
By the
so
way, poor freaking Mira. They're like, oh yeah, they built me this thing. She's like, yeah, that's a good idea, because I've been hauling you around for
Exactly.
years.
Yeah,
Poor
he
Mira.
thinks
Yeah.
he's so cool because he went north of the wall and he saw some stuff, and now he doesn't. He's too distant and cool for anybody.
He saw some stuff. He saw everything ever. He didn't see some stuff. He saw all the stuff.
He saw all the stuff, and now he's too cool for
You
his sister.
come back and see all the
you.
stuff after and try to act like a person again. I mean, I kind of really like the idea that nobody can really understand this yet, but Bran Stark is dead. There is
Yeah.
no Bran Stark. He's gone.
absolutely.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
But what did we really lose? He was
Stop it.
It's a brand. Defend brand.
Yeah, I'm sorry. How personable are you after a week of studying for finals? I mean, this guy had every bit of history and the future crammed into his head,
But
and
even
he
before
wasn't
then,
ready.
he was just a character who was there to see through other people's eyes. It's just oh, we gotta keep going north. We gotta keep going north. Yes, sorry, keep going. I'm glad Bran is dead. Long live something else.
Dr.
Something
Branhattan.
else.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah.
Branhattan.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, you still like Bran, right? He still has a big role to play.
I like the character, yeah, other than the fact that I frequently can't make out the words that he's saying. He speaks very quietly.
He's doing that little robot voice. He's just been so sullen. And yeah, so
But yeah, it's cool because he's something else now. I mean, he's having all the knowledge of the universe. That's
what he is,
hardcore.
though, is a little creep, and he's a little dick because he was so mean to Sansa last week, where he's like, you know what, I remember your raped wedding night. That's what I want to talk about right now. And then today he's like, I guess I can toss off a thank you to Mira. Maybe I can squeeze out a thanks.
You're acting like he's doing this consciously, like he's just like a guy who's like, man, he's being such a dick. But it's like you can't, it's gone. He's elsewhere now.
Yeah.
He's been to the other side. He's seen the other side. You can't come back from that.
He could say some other stuff. Yeah, can we bring up just like a photo of Bran or something? Because I actually have a good Bran impression on my phone that I could give you guys.
He's all shrouded in darkness. Listen, I mean,
here's what Bran could say.
Littlefinger betrayed Dad. Just
Just
my
doesn't
gosh.
it, just something like that. Maybe he could hit him off with like
the
a
army of the dead is really close. You guys.
just like maybe some pertinent information. No.
So here is I think you're being too hard on Bran. His ego has been completely dissolved. He does not attach to things the same way normal people. If you've seen generations upon generations live and die and suffer, you cannot emotionally withstand feeling that. So you just don't feel the same way anymore. So that's Bran, but I do have questions about the information he chooses to disseminate. Where like, with Littlefinger, yeah, you're right. With Sansa, there's like he could have been like, like Littlefinger helped kill Dad.
By the way.
There's a million things that he could have said, but instead he was like, remember how you got raped? And it was almost like he doesn't yet know how to communicate effectively to get what he wants. So with Littlefinger, he totally tipped his hat. He said, chaos is a ladder. I see you. I know what you're all about. I know what you said. I know what you did. Why give him that weapon? Even as he's handing Bran a physical weapon, Bran's handing Littlefinger information, which is his number one
Real
weapon.
quick for dummies, can you tell me the exact callback to Chaos is a Ladder?
Yeah, so there was a big scene. It was one of the best scenes to me on the series at all. It was between Varys and Littlefinger, and it was chaos is a ladder, chaos is a pit. And so it was their different perceptions on what the chaos of the realm would do. And for Littlefinger, it was his opportunity to ascend, right? If he
breaks apart the realm.
the realm, he can ascend.
I remember that scene. Got it.
And Varys is like, no, I'm trying to keep the realms together because it's the people. We think that Varys really does feel this way. It's the people that will suffer if it all falls apart. Right. So that's what he was letting him know. I know what you want, and I know what you did.
Why do you think Littlefinger gave him the dagger? What is Littlefinger playing at?
Chekhov's dagger.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Chekhov's
will
dagger.
be used
You
later.
think?
I'm sure of it. But
I
I think
mean,
that
way
it
to
was
bring it back in the book with Sam seeing it there, and then calling him. No, in the book that Sam read.
Oh, right.
Not Winds of Winter. So nice of them to mention it and kind of bring it back.
I think that
why
was just
even
his...
did Bran ask him? Who? Oh, do you know who this belonged to? Was he testing Littlefinger?
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think for Littlefinger, that's like his go-to charm a little boy move. Because he did the same thing.
Calling
weird
him
wording.
Lord
He did
Stark.
the same thing with Robin Aaron.
That's Varys' move.
With Robin Aaron, he would give him cool gifts, like, oh, you're 9 or however old Bran's supposed to
Okay.
be. Isn't this thing cool? Check it out, man. I think that
This is the dagger that was used to try to kill you.
yeah, but I think it was his way of just a little get to know you bribe to just kind of feel him out and be like, hey, I'm like your cool uncle that gives you swords.
Okay, I can see that. And yeah, I tried to save your mom. And
Yeah, it kind of flew back in his face, though.
Right, exactly. And also calling him Lord Stark was a bit of a note, too, that maybe he sees he's not getting anywhere with Sansa, so he's like, oh, well, Bran is actually technically the Lord of Winterfell. Maybe if I get on his good side. And Bran immediately is, I'm not a Lord. I'm
Yeah.
not the Lord Stark.
Yeah.
And then he was eyeballing Arya later.
So yeah, Littlefinger's
Littlefinger?
getting shut
Yeah.
down left and right, and I gotta wonder what you guys think is going through his head at this point, because he's maneuvering for something, but Bran is omniscient. Arya is clearly some kind of crazy assassin, and Sansa hates his guts. So what's left for Littlefinger to do here?
Lose his head. There was a good argument to be made that he's sort of the polar opposite of Ned. Ned being in his element in the north, but then going south and just losing all of his trust and all of his allies. Same with Littlefinger. Littlefinger being in his element, chaos is a ladder, climbing the rungs in King's Landing. But the moment he goes north, and his scheming ways just don't work anymore.
I don't know, though. I think that the whole thing with Littlefinger is that he can move amongst the rats and anywhere.
Yeah.
That he can figure out his way wherever he is.
But Winterfell is too cold for
There's
rats.
something
There's no
happening
rats.
with him. He will do something.
Yeah,
He'll
wiggle his way out of anything.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We
But
have a lot of thoughts about Bran in the chat.
I guess I want to hear him. Give me one, Roth.
I'm going to give you a couple.
Okay.
So, Sammy is on your side and says Bran has the personality of a raisin. Raisin Bran. Matthew says he sees fragments, so I think that he's really scattered, and that's why he feels aloof, and he doesn't have control yet, so he doesn't know what to do just yet.
Yeah, you know what was interesting was when he said to Arya, I thought you were going to King's Landing, and she said, so did I. So he isn't completely omniscient.
Yeah, exactly. He saw her moment of conflict and crisis,
Yeah.
but did not see the resolve.
So he's not 100%.
I'm not sure about that either, because I think that you could make the case that he does know everything, but that when he says that, he's basically leading the witness. It's like an attorney, don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to. So he wants to see what her response to that is, how she responds, but he may already know all that.
Or she could go to King's Landing later, and he could
Yeah.
just be seeing something from the far future then, at that moment.
That's a good point to make too, because that would also tie in with him asking Littlefinger, did you know who this belonged to? It's not so much that Bran doesn't know who it belonged to, but he wants to see what Littlefinger would say.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot happened in a very small amount of time in the sequence at Winterfell. Because one, I think the big question is, and it's in the teaser for the season, like, are they going to be a pack? Or are they going to be lone wolves? Ned says, like, you'll survive if you're together, but if you're separate, you won't. Or is it going to be that Jon and Dany are going to unite and they're going to survive because, like, he made a whole speech about working together. Right now, it's like we see all the ways they've lost their Starkiness in this episode, because Bran is being so remote, because he's had that experience. Sansa's talking, even though she hates Littlefinger, she's certainly talking to him and taking his counsel, right? So she's learned from her experiences with Cersei and him, the manipulative. And then in that fight with Brienne, we see everything how Arya has become what she is.
Yeah.
All of her training has made her a little girl who can beat Brienne, who beat the Hound.
It was interesting, yeah. I mean, the Sansa and Arya, them reuniting was, like, very touching, but I was almost more excited when Arya and Brienne reunited, because, like, they're just so, you want those characters to learn from each other and to be together for the rest of the series, and they delivered. That was, like, the coolest little
It's so awesome when
thing.
she says, who taught you how to do that? And she says, no one. It's so rad.
Arya coming back to Winterfell was just the best moment for me. When she comes in and the guards trying to stop her the same way that the guards tried to stop her going to King's Landing all the way back in season 1. There's another callback there. And she just says straight out, I'm getting in here one way or another, so you best step aside.
Yeah, great one episode performance by those guards.
Oh, yeah,
I'm glad
completely.
that it's not Ed Sheeran or, some other celebrity. It's not Rihanna or something. I love that they're just anonymous, one episode great characters.
It's just so good to see Arya come back. But when you're talking about her and Sansa getting together, I was like, well, no one hugs Sansa the first time that they actually get together.
Right?
Well, Bran hugs Arya. The first time that Arya and Sansa meet up down in the crypts, Sansa goes to hug her, and Arya's just kind of like, okay. And then later
It was the second hug that got me.
The second hug, I was like, okay, great, awesome, finally, Jesus.
And also the most awkward laugh ever, like, my list of people I'm going to kill.
Kidding, not kidding.
That's not really.
And then she slowly is like, no, there's a list. Am I on it?
No, really. Later on, when she sees that Arya's actually got some fighting skills, she's like, oh, maybe I should probably ask her about this list.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there's only a few people left on that list who are still alive.
Who's left?
So we've got Cersei, obviously, Melisandre, for taking Gendry, Beric Dondarrion, and Thoros, also for basically letting Melisandre take Gendry, Ilyn Payne for taking her father's head, and the Hound at one point.
Okay. And the Hound's traveling with...
I feel like they're square. She and the Hound are
I feel like that's
square.
okay. She'd probably be all right leaving the Hound off. I kind of
Does
feel
she still have a physical list, or is it?
It's just in her head.
It's just in her head, right? Yeah, because that has to have some resolution, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not she
Her and the
decides.
Hound?
She has to make. I would think that just from a storytelling perspective, she will have to make the decision whether or not to kill the Hound.
Well,
at
she
some
left
point.
him for
certainly
dead.
hope so.
So I feel like that was the
both
decision.
Brienne and
Right?
Arya
No, she
think
didn't.
the Hound
That's
is
her
dead.
not doing it. That's her
Yeah.
waffling.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like she was like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to save you. And we're like, to me, she was like,
I think
that
he's
was like-
presumed dead by her at this
Well,
point.
I would think so.
Because
but
she
when
left him to suffer. Like, he
True,
was going to
but
die, and she's like, screw it, I'm not going to help you out.
When she actually sees Brienne and basically says he doesn't fight the Hound, you fought the Hound. She doesn't say you killed the Hound. So maybe she's like us and being like, look, Pixar, it didn't happen. If I don't see a dead corpse, I'm just going to assume you're still alive.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I think we are going to have Skype calls, but I think the big question for them right now is like, how much can they integrate what they became with who they were? With like the Starkiness, with everything they've experienced since then.
And I just feel like they speaking of that list, 3 of those people are together right now, so that could be an easy boom, boom, boom of like Thoros, the Hound, and the other guy.
And in theory, Ilan Payne is still down in King's Landing.
Yeah.
In theory.
All right, well, I guess that is pretty much every region of the land that we went through, and we went through it pretty deep, but I'm sure we missed some stuff, and you guys might have some questions, so we're going to take some Skype calls now. The Skype address of which I forgot, but it's SJ Thrones something, if you can bring that up,
SJ
JT,
Thrones
and we'll
Live,
take
I
some
believe?
calls.
Yay, definitely. I was just so freaking happy to see everyone come back together in Aria.
Caller, what's your
Hi.
name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Adam from Toronto.
What's up, Adam? What's your question?
Hey,
Or comment?
I'm so glad to get to you guys because this is probably the only chance because right now I would be working, but today's a holiday. So
Nice.
I'm so glad.
Congratulations.
We're anti-work here.
I know you guys may already touch this, but I do want to get back to the final scene of this episode about like the mentality that was going on in Jaime and Tyrion's mind, like and Jaime doing that, I think is very desperate, but I think a very understandable attempt to try and end this all at once when he tried to spear Dany but failed.
Yeah,
Like, your thoughts on that?
thank you for your call, Adam. That's true. We didn't really touch on what Jaime's reaction was throughout that battle. He seemed a little lost, a little overwhelmed, as you might be, but then he kind of brings it back together, and for someone who's had his chivalry question and his knighthood question, it's a pretty brave thing to do, is to solo a dragon to the face.
Well, and even before that, he refused to leave his men when Bronn wanted him to go back to King's Landing. So he's really, I mean, if you're talking about redemptive arcs, really trying to be that sterling knight and the leader of the men.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think that was what he was trying to do, spearing the dragon, or was that like a last-ditch suicide attempt?
Was he definitely trying to spear the dragon, or was?
Or Dany.
I thought he might be going
Adam
for
said,
Dany.
said Dany. Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's
when
going
he-
after her, I think.
Yeah.
I think so.
Nice. So yeah, we'll see when he comes out butt-ass naked, missing a hand from that pond next week.
Right? That hand can't survive that pond.
Let's take another call while we have time. Hello, caller.
Hi.
Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Anthony. I'm calling from Los Angeles, actually.
Hey, what's
what
up,
up?
neighbor?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I tried to call in like all last season, but I couldn't get through to you, so I finally got through, and
Yay.
for this great episode. Wanted to say, Spencer, you're my favorite movie fighter.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I also love how critical you are of the show. It wants to be critical.
Someone's got to do it. I hate it and I love it, but mostly love. What's your question?
I kind of had two questions. One, I thought that Bran's acting was a little flat throughout. I think he's trying to do kind of like the tortured past thing, but I think he's a kid, so I don't think he's really gotten enough time to practice acting to be able to get that tortured past.
They're not giving him much to work with.
He's seen everything. I want to remind you. He's seen everything all time that ever happened. That could maybe make you.
Sorry,
I don't know,
he
a
can't
little
come down to
flat.
the level of the rest of us peons who have only one timeline to see.
Well, Sean, you're an actor. What do you think of, because this is a question that comes up a bit, right? What do you think, can you talk about this even if you didn't like it?
I wouldn't.
So what do you think of the acting on the show?
I honestly wouldn't do that. It's
Yeah.
like I take a lot of pride in being a part of the fellowship of actors, and I know that everyone is doing the best they can within their scope, and so I wouldn't want to talk
I
poorly
think it's
about any
pretty
actors.
strong overall. I mean,
I don't think that there's anything wrong with Isaac.
For sure.
Isaac something White.
Hempstead Wright.
Hempstead Wright, yes. I just think that of all the characters, I think that he is George R. R. Martin's window to other characters. I don't think that he himself, I mean, he's got 100 great characters. You can miss on one. Anyways, Anthony, what's your other question?
I was also thinking that the end thing, and you already kind of mentioned it earlier, Spencer, but like Jaime, like he's about to get hit by the dragonfire and then, falls into the water and, is he gonna survive? Is he gonna drown? I don't know. It just seemed kind of like a hat on a hat for suspense. Like, I mean, I'm just curious on your thoughts, because I know you kind of mentioned it earlier.
Thank you for your call, Anthony. Yeah, I don't think that we're all in suspense. So I guess maybe it's not a huge success what they were trying to do there, but I mean, we got some mileage out of it, but none of us think he's dead. Right?
I never thought he was dead, but I was shocked they ended it there.
Well, why do you assume that they think that it's even
Right.
suspense? I mean, it's obvious that if he was going to die, they'd show him die, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so he can't possibly be dead unless unless they're saving his death for something amazing in the first scene of the next episode, which they've never really done, right?
I have to agree with that. Like, I at first I was like, well, why do we really need this cliffhanger when I'm sure he's not going off the cliff? But then I think you're right, that the question isn't is he dead or alive, it's who saves him.
Who saves him and what happens
And how.
next.
And how.
Yeah, good point. All right, we're going to try to squeeze in one last Skype call. If we can, let's get one more person on the line because we love your input. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello. Nice
Hey, what's
swords.
up? Cal, the Kingslayer.
Yeah.
Hello.
What's your question, dude?
Kind of piggybacking off the last question. After seeing that awesome dragon battle and seeing Jamie fall into the water, what are your thoughts on him being Azor Ahai? I know it's a stretch, but...
Wait, can I take this? Because I actually love this.
What does this mean?
Wait, no, this makes me really happy.
What's happening?
Wait.
Oh, God.
This is a very important moment. Before you say anything, what would you guess Azor Ahai means?
It sounds like a person.
Nailed it.
It is.
Thank you for your question, Cal. Michelle, enlighten us.
Okay, well, first of all, I guess I'm going to get into what makes me really excited about this in a second. Azor Ahai was essentially the guy who fought back the White Walkers the last time. He's
to be born again.
He's supposed to be born again now into this fight as the prince that was promised, which now they're talking about it being maybe a princess. So now it's maybe Dany. That whole thing with Missandei.
Or it could be-
Oh, they
in the
mistranslated
last-
it. It
yeah,
could be princess.
it could be prince or princess because dragons are sexless.
Or it could be two people. It could be Dany and
John.
or three.
Got it. Melisandre
Right.
that's what she was referencing this
The whole
recently.
thing with Azor Ahai
Okay.
reborn. So what got me really excited about this was another theory that I kind of got to touch on in reading is that Jaime, not as Azor Ahai, but Jaime is Lightbringer. Like Lightbringer embodified. So like that's not a word. Embodied. So the idea with Lightbringer was Azor Ahai's sword. And the whole thing with that is that the sword he labored to make and then tried to temper it in water and it shattered. And then he tried to make it again and he tempered it by sticking it into the heart of a lion. Shattered. Then he realized what he had to do and heartbroken, he slaves again to make another sword and sticks it in the heart of his wife, Nisa. So it's a whole blood and like love sacrifice. And what I loved about it was the idea like, I remember way back, I don't remember what season, where Jaime is taking a bath with Brienne.
Oh, yeah.
And he had just lost his hand, and it was a whole thing. And he as a person, shatters. And he,
That's
faints.
a bit of a stretch
But
of
we're
the
going
metaphor.
with this.
All right.
Stick with me. Going with this. So that basically, when Brienne says, the Kingslayer, and he says, my name's Jaime, so he's reborn. He's so tempered by water. The next one, stuck into the heart of a lion. He's responsible for the death of his father by letting Tyrion go. So
but
shrugs off
Tyrion's
Kingslayer.
really responsible.
Yeah,
by
but I'm
killing
going
him.
with possible prophecy
I love
here.
it.
Okay,
I love this.
I'm going with it.
I'm not sure I buy any of it, but
I like it.
This is deep nerd shit. I love it.
I like the theory.
I like the tempered by water, tempered by sticking into the heart of a lion, the bath with Brienne, his father being killed, the ultimate Lannister, the ultimate lion, and now maybe possibly the blood and love sacrifice, him possibly killing Cersei.
But that would be the final sacrifice.
That would be the final
But it's
sacrifice, but
not-
that would mean he himself is Lightbringer, not Azor Ahai.
But that
Some
also
like
means-
Wizard of Oz, like
I'm
the heart
going with
was in
it,
you all
guys.
along.
Yes.
No.
I like it.
But in order for that sacrifice to work, he has to not want to kill her. I mean, which he would never
he wouldn't.
want to
Which he
kill her.
He wouldn't. It'd be a sacrifice for him. He's loved her his whole
But
life.
if he's Azor Ahai, if he's the weapon who's wielding the weapon.
See, I don't think
He
he's Azor
himself
Ahai.
is
I
the
think
is
he
the
But that's what I'm
himself
saying, but
is
if
the
he's-
weapon,
so I'm saying
maybe
if he's-
wielded by
but if
Dany
he's-
and John, metaphorically speaking,
But
It's a
to
very
kill
deep-
Cersei.
If he's
I'm going
like-
deep nerd here, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, two
Love
quick
it.
things. I love these theories because they're fan theories are my favorite thing and Spencer's least favorite thing. But because they're just making up
Some
stories.
are better than
But
others.
here's my two concerns about that one. One, if he is the weapon, then someone has to wield the weapon, and Dany and
John
wielding that weapon right now to kill Cersei doesn't make sense because the weapon is going to be used against the Night King. So he also has to. That's who he has to kill, unless she becomes the Night Queen, which is a whole other theory
That's a whole other
that we
thing.
can talk about next week.
I just
All right,
want
we're
my
gonna
ice dragons.
let's derail this
Me too.
this
just want
crazy
ice
tinfoil
dragons.
hat train. We have barely any time left. We just gotta end real quick on our favorite moments of the episode, a segment we like to call Raging Throners. So we're just gonna talk, Sean. If you had, sorry if we didn't prep you, just what was your favorite part of the episode?
My favorite part is the because I love Arya Stark. So her fight with Brianna, the way that all played out, with not just them doing it, but then what the people watching them are realizing while she's doing it.
I feel like she was doing her own stunts
the
too.
idea that that's what's going through Sansa's head here is awesome, And that's great storytelling. That it takes seasons and seasons to not have Sansa have to say anything.
Yep.
You
can tell
and
with
you
the look.
know sort of what she might be thinking.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, that's so great. And Roth, I think you mentioned Joanna Robinson before, and she did a really good breakdown of all the different parent figures and fighting figures that influenced Arya just in that fight alone.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, you see
Cool.
you see echoes of
there's a little Hound.
Syrio, there's Hound, there's Tywin, there's Faceless Men. I mean, you see everyone in all the little different fighting techniques that Arya does there. It's
And
great.
they love it.
so
they
good.
love their joy.
Oh yeah, she loves the fight too.
Yeah.
Arya's grinning the whole time.
Yeah. My favorite character, by the way.
The best. Michelle, what's your Raging Throner of the week?
Mine is also with Arya, but it's with the homecoming in particular. It's where she sits down and gets to look around Winterfell and see her home and looks over and sees the direwolf sigil on the wall and just getting to take in being back home with her family.
Like, wow, the sets have really progressed from season 1. Like, this is looking dinky compared to where we are now.
I love that guy.
Roth, what was your Raging Throner?
I mean, the dragon.
Yeah.
What are we all talking about? Come on, you guys.
be real, it's
like,
that.
let's be real. It
Sure,
is
if you wanna go the
that,
easy
right?
way out.
Come on. That is like Occam's razor.
That shot right there. Holy smokes.
But my favorite moment of that is the sequence where Jaime is charging Daenerys, and Tyrion's like, "You fucking idiot! You effing sorry."
That's fine.
You effing idiot! Like, you just don't do it. And then he's charging it, and then he's like, "Get off my mama!" And Drogon's face just comes into frame, and then Bronn saves him. I'm just repeating what happened. It's so awesome because
Fair
there
enough.
was so much happening at once in that, and there was I don't think I felt that many emotions at one time.
It was one of the best battles of the whole series. It was an immediate DJ, play that back, watch it twice.
Completely.
Did you?
Yes.
Yeah, me
So my Raging Throner, though, was a small moment. It was the big smile on Mira Reed's face after she found out someone invented the wheelchair, and she would not have to drag Bran's monotone ass all around the North anymore. I know that like Doran Martell has a wheelchair, so great minds think alike. But her just like relief that her calves would finally get a rest, that she doesn't have to drag this sad sack around anymore. That made me really happy. And you know what makes me happy? This show. Which is why we'll be back next week for more Watching Thrones. I, as always, am Spencer J. Gilbert, Roth Cornet, Michelle. And we can announce that yet, but our fabulous guest this week, Sean Gunn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I'll be watching next week.
I hope you had fun, and you're welcome back anytime. Except for next week, because we have Kumail Nanjiani coming by.
Kumail!
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. A good dude, and we're all fans here, so keep the conversation going on hashtag Watching Thrones throughout the week. We'll be checking in, we'll be writing back, and we'll see you next time for more Watching Thrones.
Jakaris.
Thanks again to T-Mobile for sponsoring today's episode. Check out what makes them America's best unlimited network at T-Mobile.com/coverage.